Jake Sully's transformation from human to Na'vi in Avatar, the hit film by James Cameron, establishes the time that this happens. Now, this film, made in 2009, still stands as a cinematic landmark, and no other movie has ever grossed higher. It's 13 years down the line, and Avatar continues to amaze by bringing the alien world of Pandora to life with extraordinary visual effects. Join us as we explore exactly when Jake fully becomes a Na'vi, and how old Jake and Neytiri are in the Avatar sequels. First up, the exact time and date of Jake's transformation. In Avatar's final scene, just before his Na'vi transformation, Jake records a final message. While he speaks, the monitor readout shows the recording date as 08/24/2154. The time readout just above the date shows 1910. Jake closes the scene with these words: "I don't want to be late for my own party. It's my birthday after all." So, from this info, it's probably that Jake Sully became a Na'vi shortly after this message. If one considers the time it would take to get from the RDA base to the Na'vi Soul Tree, and also for the ritual to commence, Jake likely became a Na'vi between 7:30 and 8:30 on the 24th of August, 2154. As payment for his work in the mining operation run by RDA on Pandora, Avatar's villain, Colonel Miles Quaritch, Stephen Lang, promises Jake the restoration of his legs. This is for his help in getting the Na'vi out of the way of RDA, but Jake chose to embrace the Na'vi over his human identity. He gets his legs back, and that in a new body. But more importantly, he's reborn. He becomes a new man with the lessons the Na'vi have taught him. Jake's final line of his last transmission shows that. When he signs off with the words, "This is Jake Sully signing off," he's actually signing off as a human, and signing on as a Na'vi. He's starting over in a very real sense indeed. It is this incredible significance that's made clear in the movie by showing the exact time and date of his transformation. In which time is the story set? This is a question fans keep asking. Keep watching. We're going to show you the answer in a moment. So, how old are Neytiri and Jake in Avatar? It's not easy to pinpoint Neytiri and Jake's ages in Avatar and its sequels, but there is some limited information available. Let's first deal with the sequels. Since the original film's release in 2009, there's been a slew of delays for the sequels. There are a host of reasons for this, and not the least of these is the incredible complexity of the underwater scenes in Avatar 2. Chances are, of course, that the cast will be too old to be recognized by the time the sequels start rolling in theaters. Much of the plot of the sequel remains under wraps. James Cameron has confirmed, however, that the sequels will form an interconnected saga that will continue to center around Neytiri and Jake's Pandora family. And he's also let the cat out of the bag about their children. There's Neteyam, played by Jamie Flatters, Loak, Britton Dalton, and Tuktirey, played by Trinity Bliss. Now, when does the story take place? Avatar 2 is scheduled for a 2022 release, but the story takes place 8 years post the original. And, as we know, that was in 2154. Whatever age Neytiri and Jake were in the first film, they should be 8 years older in the sequel, no more. And what will happen in Avatar 3, 4, and 5? We'll just have to wait and see. In Avatar, technically speaking, Neytiri's only 18 and Jake has hit 28. That would make them 26 and 36 in Avatar 2. But there are a few factors that make this calculation complicated. In James Cameron's script, Jake Sully is 22 when he's first introduced, not 28. But that is when Jake gets into a bar fight back on Earth. And this is the most important deleted scene in Avatar. As soon as he's recruited to take his brother's place, his travel time to Pandora works out to nearly 6 years. That's why he's 28 when he arrives. But now we have to factor in time dilation during space travel. Theoretically, he should have aged slower in those 6 years than someone who, say, wasn't traveling at the speed of light for the same period. So again, technically, he would be 22 and 28 respectively, relative to whatever humanity remains on Earth. Now it gets more complicated. Jake spends the full journey to Pandora in a cryopod. He's frozen, so he probably doesn't age at all. All of these factors make it exceedingly difficult to determine Jake's age. All we can say with some degree of certainty is that it feels like he's somewhere in his mid-20s. If one tries to pinpoint his synthetic avatar body, this will become even more complicated. To see what we can expect from the breathtaking underwater work Cameron's been doing with Avatar 2, stay with us. So, how about Neytiri's age? Her age may be more straightforward, but don't be so quick. There may be complications here too. The script introduces her saying in human years she would be around 18, but in that descriptor lies an equal number of questions and answers. As with the complicated math that makes us believe Jake is 28, Neytiri's birth happened in 2136 Earth calendar year, so the 2154 setting for for the film would make her 18. Good. But that's by Earth standards. The Na'vi homeworld is on Pandora in a completely different solar system. It orbits a planet that, in turn, orbits the Sun. Culturally as well as logistically, the Na'vi measure their ages very differently from human beings. That said, Neytiri does behave somewhat like an 18-year-old, even if she comes across as mature, and she occupies a specific social place in her clan that says she's on the cusp of proper adulthood. Technically, if Neytiri feels around 18 and Jake around 22, it will help to ease the potential awkwardness of the decade age gap they have. And for interest's sake, there's a 2-year age gap only between Worthington and Saldana. They were 33 and 31 respectively when Avatar was first released. Perhaps the sequels will shed more light on Neytiri and Jake's ages, but it's beginning to feel as if that will always remain a little uncertain. In a moment, we're going to take you behind the scenes of the incredible mocap technology Cameron has been employing with Avatar 2. Keep watching until the end of this video. Now, what we know about the incredible underwater scenes in Avatar 2. Avatar didn't win any awards for the originality of its plot, but it broke record upon record for its breathtaking visuals, and the box office success speaks for itself. Now, the behind-the-scenes pics from Avatar 2 are beginning to tell a story of their own. This sequel is promising to have even more visual ambition than its predecessor. When one sees groundbreaking achievements in CGI, it's often difficult to determine exactly what makes a film so impressive. This was certainly the case with James Cameron's visions for Avatar 1. No previous movie was ever able to create more immersive or realistic settings through the use of CGI, and the way human action and computer-generated characters integrated was astonishing for the time. But these techniques are now commonplace, and Cameron has promised to have a whole bunch of new tricks up his sleeve. The Avatar sequel will have much of the original cast return to the set, and on the verdant Pandora world, they'll pick up on the story where Avatar 1 left it. Cameron's experimentation with new technology and filming methods probably led to the long delay between the two installments. It was the totally ambitious underwater sequences that proved particularly problematic for both the cast and crew. Cameron decided to film these scenes underwater in their entirety, instead of adding the water in post-production. And finally, a short explanation of the spectacular mocap underwater technology in Avatar 2. Remember, we don't know much about Avatar 2's plot yet, but photos have revealed a few details of the motion capture tech that is used in the production of this film. It's a far cry from the unrealistic and weightless 3D animation we were used to when Avatar 1 arrived on our screens. And knowing Cameron, this sequel's footage will be incomparable to the already fantastic footage in the first film. This is all because of the tech advances that allowed Cameron to put his approach of filming scenes underwater into action. And because there will be no digital water in sight, this promises to be a truly fresh and new look. To avoid light reflection from the surface, and to give the lighting crew ultimate control, the water surfaces in the tanks where the shooting took place were covered with floating balls. Underwater mocap suit technology is similar to standard mocap attire, but it adds a face-mounted camera to capture subtle facial expressions. This way of shooting is certainly ambitious, and it asks a lot if you consider that it's technology that's never been seen, and also a new way of working for the all-star cast. It's been a while since a movie's been so eagerly anticipated as Avatar 2 is, and knowing James Cameron, it's going to be a feat of note. We certainly can't wait. And on that note, we're ending this video. Thanks for joining us. Remember to look out for our next upload.